Okay, we should be live. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Okay, we should be live. If you are here, let me know. And I'm gonna switch my speakers to my headphones. Just a moment. Okay. Hey, Siltax. All right, we've got some good questions today. I will start with the intro for anybody that's new here. So this is the Omniverse Developer Office Hour. This is where I come on here and answer questions that come up on the forums and on Discord. And I cover them here on video, give people a chance to ask any follow-up questions, and then I log these. We have this archive of questions that are asked. So every week, every developer office hour that we host, there's this repository here. Hey, Funky Boy. And if you go into the EXTS folder, there's an extension for every session, and then you can come in here and get the source code for any questions that are answered. You can also see here in the README are the questions that are asked. And then we also have this FAQ where once they are processed, I didn't put on my sound effects today. Once we've gotten them all processed on YouTube and everything, we go ahead and timestamp them, and you've got these timestamped links to every question. And so we've done 61 questions so far, so that list just keeps on growing. And then if you haven't already and you've been hanging out with us in the community, I encourage you to join the Insider program. All it is a form that you fill out, just telling us about who you are, what you do, what software you use. That way we can get to know you better. We can connect you with the right opportunities for you as they come up, and it's also a way that we can meet you and potentially have you be featured in our Meet the Omnivore blog. So really important. You can fill it out and then update it as many times as you want. So you can just do a basic fill out and then add more as you have time. Cool. So that's it for the intro. Funky Boy's got a new extension. I think we can check that out. And so I'm going to be running through 3 questions today. And then if you have any questions afterwards, it's all free form. Ask whatever you like, and I will try my best to answer it, or otherwise try to get an answer for you during the week or for a following session. So here we go. I've got my VS Code, I've got my code, and let's get to the first question here. Also, as you're watching this, please let me know how the video and audio are coming through and how they're syncing. I'm trying again the NVIDIA broadcast. I've cut out the audio enhancements and to see maybe if it's just too much going through and slowing down the stream. So question number 1, how do I check if a file exists using the Omni Client Library? So this one came up today again, and I've answered this before. So I think it's a good candidate for this. Cool. So let's come over here. And I've got this hello world py file that we're going to look at. It's on my local Nucleus server. So now let's look at the code here. And you're going to use the Omni Client Library. You can access this in Python or C++. This will actually work for files on Nucleus, AWS, and local file server, local file system. But the basic idea is there's a stat function that will give you information about the file. And if the file exists, you get a result OK. And if it doesn't, you get a result error not found. So let's go ahead and try this on that file that I said does exist. And we can see here that it proceeded into the if, and it printed out information about this file with the correct name, when it was created, and all that. And then if I run this again, and now I've made up this fake USD file, it doesn't exist. So let's see what that does when I run that one. And in this case, it gave me that error not found, so it wouldn't have gone into this if statement here. And it's just this default uninitialized list entry, no path. The date is basically null. So that is the basic idea. Yeah, it seems a little bit, you'd expect to maybe does exist or dot exists function, but this is the recommended way right now. So any questions about Omni Client and checking if files exist? All right. Yeah, not a tough one, but definitely a little tricky to find. All right, let's do the next one. How do I duplicate a prim? So this one's come up a few times as well. For this one, I'll do it live. I think it's helpful to go through the process of finding this. So whenever there's something that I want to do in Omniverse, I always try to see if I can do it interactively and then look at the commands history in code. So in this case, I will create a cube, and then I want to duplicate the cube. I already know the hotkey for that, but there's this edit duplicate. And when you do that, we get this copy prims command. And this actually wraps a copy prim command. So you could select multiple, press Control D, and you can see here it ran copy prim multiple times. So this is going to make full copies of whatever you selected, including the hierarchy below it. This is not using instancing, but we can talk about instancing if you guys want, or I think I may cover that separately. So if I want to copy multiple, I can use the copy prims wrapper, or if I just want to copy one, I can do just copy prim. So you could just use copy prims every time. You don't have to really think about it that way. I see your questions, Funky Boy, and I think we can look at those after these. Okay. So we're going to catch the result here from this command. I will just reduplicate the world cube. And in case sorry, I got sidetracked and I didn't mention, but when I want to copy this, I select the command that I care about, and then there's a generate script to clipboard from the selected commands. So that's what I used. So some options here that if you're not sure, just leave them in with the defaults. This would be, I don't know what duplicate layers does, but these are, because USD can be, your data can, for a single prim, could be spread across multiple USD files. We have options for taking all of the information from those multiple files, and then you can, when you paste it in, when you duplicate, it'll put them into one USD layer. We also have the option to change a reference into a non-reference, into like an import sort of. So that's what those do. Let me see if there was any more information here for this. So duplicate, so what I did here is there's search commands button, and this will let you search and then also get documentation for these commands. So duplicate layers will duplicate the layers on copy. So that would be these layers. I don't know what the use would be for that, but you can. This will be true when you're using auto authoring for combining layers. And then there's also properties or arguments that aren't exposed here when you do when it shows a command. So you want to potentially look at that. And this is flattening the reference. All right, so let's do our example here. So we've got the command. We need to, let's print the result and see what we get. And so the result is true and none. And you can see here that now we have a fourth cube, which is what we want, or a fifth cube in this case. The result is always, the first one is always whether the command succeeded or failed. And then the second in the tuple is what does this command actually return? And in this case, it didn't return anything. So one question that always comes up fairly quickly after that is, what if I want to rename that after it gets copied? I care about the naming. Well, in this case, there is let's look at that search commands again. There is a paths to list. So if you don't provide it, it's going to use next free path. There's in OmniUSD, there's a function that will generate a free path for you that's available. Otherwise, you can use the paths too. So I will give that a shot here. And world, my copied cube. And now we run it. And I forgot a comma here. Did it error? Yeah. And now we've got that duplicate with the name that I want. Any questions about duplicating prims? Okay. Last one. And then we go into open forum. Is there an event for when a user's prim selection changes? Okay. For this one, so I've shared before. We've got some snippets about how to get the current selected prims, how to select a prim by path. But what if you need something smarter that is listening for every selection change, and you want to do something, react to those changes. So for that one, we do have that, and this is part of OmniUSD. And I wanted to check if I need anything else here. No, I think we're good. What you want to do is you want to get the USD context. And then there is a stage event stream on the context. And then you can create a subscription. To pop means that it's going to run your callback on the frame after, on the update after the selection is actually changed, which is fine. The alternative would be push, which would happen immediately on the same update loop. And then you can specify the selection changed event. There are lots of events here. Animation start and stop, asset load. This would be like if you add a sublayer or a reference, when a file is open or closed. So lots of interesting stuff in here if you want to look through there. But we're doing selection changed. And then you provide a callback for that selection changed. It gives you an event object from the Carbonite library. In this case, it's not very useful. The payload doesn't have anything. So what you want to do is you then want to use the get selection, a selection class from the USD context to then query what is the current selection now. So once my callback's been called, I get the new selection, and now I know I can do whatever I want with it from then on. And then lastly, once I'm done with it, or definitely before my extension shuts down, I want to make sure that I unsubscribe. You need to hold on to the subscription, and then make sure you unsubscribe at the end. If you do this, maybe you copy and paste this exactly, and you find that that the subscription, that your callback's not firing, it could be that your subscription is getting cleaned up here. So you want to make sure this variable stays in scope, that it doesn't get deleted before you would expect. So let's try this. So right now, I select this cube and nothing happens, right? There are some callbacks here for the manipulator, but nothing of mine. So now we run this, and on unselect, it tells me that the selection is empty now. When I've selected that one, it gives me that. I can control click and keep adding to that selection through the stage window here. Works as well. So marquee select and all that. So that should be all you need for this. And then when I'm excuse me, when I'm done with it, if I go ahead and unsubscribe and then go back to code, now that function isn't firing anymore. All right. Any questions? If there are no more questions, I can move on to the live questions. All right, so Funky Boy first. Let's check out. No, we'll answer your question first. Question is on Discord. I posted that somebody on the forums was asking. They're using audio to face, and audio to face uses wave files. They have MP3, and so we put a feature request in for that. But I also thought, hey, this should be a fairly easy thing to implement. It might be a good beginner project for making an extension, and at the same time you would make something that would immediately help someone else out in the community. So if we look at, so funky voice question is, if you're new to Python, I said on Discord there must be some Python package already that you can just pip install and call one function that converts MP3 to WAV. And but if you're new to Python, which we have a lot of people in the community that have some background either in another programming language or just some other profession, how would you go about this? So what I would do is Python packages, the most Python packages would be publicly accessible through this server called the Python package index. So this is a server that you can submit your Python packages and they are indexed, and then people can download them from here and use them. A Python package is basically just a folder, a packaged up folder of Python code. It can be one module, it could be many, but all I would do is, convert MP3 to WAV, Python. This one seems fine. And a lot of them will tell you, but you're going to use this third-party extension. You can immediately tell because they're saying pip. Pip is the package for installing other Python packages. So you would run this from the command line, pip install, and then the package name that you want. It says that this one wants FFmpeg, I think. I would give this a shot without it. I'm not sure if it is a requirement here. But in Omniverse, we have a way to install packages with your extension. So I'll get to that, but let's take a look at another one of these and see if we can find one that. This one also wants FFmpeg. So I wonder if we have FFmpeg with Omniverse. Let me take a quick look here. Otherwise, you could technically, it would it would limit you to the operating system that you'd need a Linux version and a Windows version of FFmpeg. But you could technically just drop the executable into your extension and reference it that way. Let me take a quick look here. This just seems like something that we would have with Omniverse anyways. All right, so I'm just coming through here. Where would we have this? Yeah, but you need the you need something that can read the MP3 encoding, and that's why they use FFmpeg. It's free and it works. Yeah, I guess we don't have. I don't know where else it would be if we included it. We don't have like a bin directory in here with other executables. All right, well that's a non-starter probably. Yeah, they all want to use FFmpeg. Well, a couple of options there. There may be something out there that doesn't use it. So I would search through there, and we can, I'll assume just PyDub for now for the rest of the conversation. But the other option would be PyAudio. Oops, yeah, PyAudio. Is this the same tutorial, or did they have both options? Nope. I feel like I remember PyDub using PyAudio under the hood or something like that. Anyways, if you happen to find something that doesn't use FFmpeg, you could do that. Otherwise, you could, like I said, maybe package FFmpeg with your extension, or have a setting where users can specify the path to FFmpeg where they've installed it, or just assume that they have it installed on their path, and then that would work as well. It's not more complicated for one operating system or the other. It's just like if you're developing on Windows, you would put the FFmpeg exe in there with your extension, and then but then you'd also have to have the executable for the Linux one as well. So which would be a little bit trickier if you're developing on Windows. But the alternative might be either they have to have FFmpeg on their path so that from the command line you could do it would be found. I don't know if I have FFmpeg. Yeah, I do. Or you ask them for a path to their FFmpeg, and that would work. So I think the PyDub probably assumes that it's in the path, so maybe you just have to give them instructions on how to install. Once you have that, did we have a pip example here? Maybe not, but we do have in the prod kit this pip API, and this is basically just wraps the command line, and you can in your extension you can make this pip API section in your extension.toml, and you just add as a requirement PyDub or PyAudio, and you want to set this one to true so that it will download it from the online index from PyPy. Otherwise, you can also use that tends to be better because it will just automatically handle as soon as somebody tries to execute your extension. If they don't have it, it would run the code to install. Otherwise, there is a function for OmniKit pip API install, and that's the same idea. You give it a string for the package name, PyDub, and for the most part that would, and I think this is true by default, use online index, and that would do the same thing. So I will paste that in there. And that should be it. So once that's the tricky part, I think, is once you have getting the library that you need available in Omniverse to your extension, and then from there it's like we saw the example. It's like one line of code for the actual conversion. So then the rest is just building a user interface that's easy to use for users to do that conversion. So there's that one. And I say this is an easy extension, but whenever you're making somebody for somebody else, it always becomes way harder, right? You have to think about how they're going to use it and how to break it and all that. Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, Funky Boy is saying that he's got a new extension here. Isometric camera, is this the one? This was released yesterday, so I think this is the one. Can we trust Funky Boy? Oh no, is this gonna work? I don't know if it's gonna work. I'll look at your repo in a minute if it doesn't work. Oh, it worked. Okay, I don't know what that message was. That was weird. I'm gonna look at your repo anyways. All right, so let's do, this should be fine. Create new camera, start here. And then, yeah, isometric. And rotate up and down. Zoom in and out. And then this will delete the camera. Very cool. What did I break here though? So I think this is good. The only thing that tripped me up here was this switch perspective button. I didn't know. I mean, I figured it out afterwards that the camera that I'm on is updating here. But for a moment, I thought that this would say like switch to perspective or switch to isometric. So if I'm on isometric, it would say switch perspective. And so I know I'm on isometric. And then if I'm on perspective, it would say switch to isometric. I don't know. It was a minor thing that tripped me up. Let's restart it here. So when I create, and you could even switch to the automatically to the isometric camera maybe. Did the first click not do it? And it takes two clicks on this button to switch to it. But you got the hard parts down. But like I said, it's the when you put it in somebody else's hands and watch them break it. Yeah, the label that changes, it shouldn't be too difficult. So as long as you hold on to that label widget, the label object, then you can just do my label.text and change it to some other thing. So if it's on your window, it'd probably be something like myself.mylabel, so you can access it from different places in your class. Very cool. I'm sure this is like 100 times easier than if you wanted to do this manually from the property window. I like that I don't have to think about anything in terms of camera, just like where am I in space or relative to, I guess this would be relative to the origin. This is where I'm going to break it. All right, I won't break it anymore. Very cool. Anyone else have any questions? Let me switch to, I'm going to play around with this a little bit, give you guys time to think about questions. Yeah, so where's this camera in space? There it is. Well, yeah, I think because the field of the field of view on the camera can make it tricky to work with too. Nice. I was also going to look at the repository, make sure everything looks good there, but yeah, I don't know why we got that that warning. That was new to me. I'll have to dig into it. But your setup looks like the default setup here. Papa check. No complex questions here. Nah. What you got? I can try or at least hear it out. I know there's like lengthy, like when you say complex, it's no joke. You guys are digging into crazy math and workflows. Let me see. Do we have anybody on that thread that's from NVIDIA yet? There hasn't been anybody from NVIDIA that's jumped in yet, right? I can poke somebody, at least since January 14th was the last NVIDIA that I see. Yeah, I'll poke somebody from Isaacson so they can help out. This one. Any other questions? This one's interesting, Funky Boy, because it's got that install button. What's up? Oh, I'm just kidding. It's because I haven't downloaded it yet. That's right. Yeah, I'd need to. Hey, research report. Yeah, just try. We'll try my best to answer it. Otherwise, we can always connect on Discord and just have more of a conversation there. And then Papa Chuck, if you've got the logs for that crash, that would be helpful. I didn't see that one on Discord. Oh, I see the issue. Yeah, I think if we can get a log from that person. Anything else? Yeah, we'll need to get somebody that has more container experience to help you with that one. It's something that I'd like to learn, but like if I'm not doing it all the time, it's not gonna stick, right? um, I think Ashley's doing a good job. I don't know. It is a learn with me, right? It's not a let me give you the answer. So it's a little different. I think if speeding it up would not be helpful. How do we work with blend shapes? That one needs a little bit more context. So blend shapes are a part of the USD scale schema. And for the most part, they depends what you mean by animate. So if you can set up keys and then with a Python script and it would animate as fast as USD can process it. You could do time samples or you can do animation keys in Omniverse. So that would be one option is you script the creation of the animation and then playback would be separate but very fast. You could also animate in the sense of like a playable character real time, in which case you can do that too, and it would be, if you're doing one character, it should be fairly real time and responsive. If you're doing more, we have different solutions for that. We have OmniGraph, which is backed by Fabric and C++ to make that fast. Or we have USDRT, which if you're doing lots of updates, say you have lots of characters that you want to animate, USDRT might be a good option for that. What that does is so you're still doing, there's a Python API for it, so you do have the whatever slowness from Python, but this is bypassing any sort of USD updates that might occur. It's writing straight to Fabric. But that has its downsides right now that you then have to copy that back to USD when you're done, if you want it to persist. Does any of that sound like what you're looking for? Which one? I think that's all the animation cases that I can think of. A2F. Yeah, A2F is kind of its own beast because it's using machine learning to produce that animation. But at the end of the day, that's what it's going to do. The first case, right, which is produce time samples or animation keyframes that are baked into the USD, and then playback is real time with the just reading it from USD. So we can look at that. I thought it produces blend shapes. So it gives you the mouth shapes or face shapes to produce the range of acting. But then when you feed it audio or it has some sort of some sort of input, it would then weight those blend shapes to produce the animation. Maybe Ace does it real time. It doesn't actually author that into USD and then playback. But A2F, pretty sure A2F does. So we can, yeah, it maybe because Ace is supposed to be conversational and responsive to the input, the inputs are provided in real time. It may just be doing the inference and then doing the weights and just doing all that in real time during the playback. So timestamp. Yeah, I don't know too much more about Ace at this point. So there's two things that you could do. I think we've talked about animation here before, which is you could set keys, and I need a timeline here. And then set another key here. And now we have animation. This is adding animation data. This is an animation data type, prim. And if you look here, it's storing arrays for every property that you're keying. And so this is storing the times and values for these keyframes, and then it would interpolate using, I don't know what sort of smoothing it does here. But the point is it's keyframe data. So you can have, it's a sparse representation of your animation. And I suppose, and you know, you can use the, do we not have the curve editor in here? You can use the curve editor, manipulate the curves how you want to get the smoothing that you prefer for your animation. So that would be one way. The other way would be time samples, which would not be represented here on the timeline, I think, but it would be all right, I'm going to take a pause here because research report asked the question. Script code in IsaacSim, standalone in Bash Python. So is there a way to distinguish different Python? So the claim is that the code in different, whether you're running in standalone Bash Python or interactively in IsaacSim or in code, the Python, the functions are different. Is there a way to distinguish between them? That is, so for the most part, anything that you write interactively should work in standalone Bash Python. So assuming that all the same extensions are loaded, like OmniUSD, then the code should look the same. I know IsaacSim, so now if we're talking about Kit versus code versus IsaacSim, I know IsaacSim has some libraries that wrap Kit and some of the Kit extensions, and so the API will be a little different if you use those IsaacSim libraries. So those would only be available in IsaacSim. So anything that says IsaacSim would only be available in IsaacSim. There's this. What is this? I don't think that's related at all. So there is that consideration to keep in mind is if you're doing IsaacSim work, it's likely only going to work in IsaacSim. But if you see me doing any Kit or code scripting, that should work in IsaacSim because it's using Kit under the hood. So let's take a look here. So what makes two Omniverse apps different is what extensions they are using and how you lay out the UI. For the most part, that might be oversimplifying it, but that's about it. So you can see here that these Isaac examples would come from an extension that would not be in the code app. This Isaac assets as well. I may have to kill this one and try again. Exactly, yeah. So so the Omni Kit commands should be available. Let's try this again. I think there is something with different versions of two apps running at the same time with different versions of Kit. Sometimes the startup gets wonky. But I think it's like if I try it a second time, then it sorts out. So these are pip packages that IsaacSim extensions use. I'm not sure why we have that in code without any other IsaacSim extensions. There must be something good here. So here are all the pip packages that this extension brings in. No, it's not gonna, well, it's going. It's compiling GPU shaders. So it has something to do with the shader cache. That this happens. We don't need code anymore anyways. I have no patience for this. It shouldn't take this long on a normal case. So what you may find with the Omniverse Kit commands is that IsaacSim may have more Kit commands or different Kit commands. That is another consideration. Kit commands come from different extensions, and you have to have those extensions accessible and enabled in order to use them, those commands. See, now this is going much better, I think. There we go. So if we search here for Isaac, we have the browser, all these articulation and sensor, robot things. Those are just extra apps that you can run. So yeah, all of these, you can see that these aren't available in code. So if there's things here that you like, and you have to consider that your extension or any script that you're writing may only work in Isaac Sim if you're using any of these APIs. And you can tell that you're using, so let me see. Isaac was no longer turned on after saving and ending the extension code while writing it. I'm not sure what that means. I might need clarification on that one. What I did want to mention is, as you were asking, how do you know what API is available for in the different apps? And if you see code that has some import for Omni Isaac or any Omni extension or any import really, oftentimes the Python import will match the extension name, or at least give you a hint as to which extension it came from. So let's take a look at this sensor one. We can then open this in VS Code. And this is not where I want to be. This is what I was looking at the other day. Omni Isaac sensor. So if I see here, when I initialize this extension, when I enable it, it's going to import this Python module as well as these. So these get automatically imported. And then I can see that this Python code that's available with it as well. It starts with Omni Isaac sensor. So that would clue me in. So as a kind of a blanket statement, if the code has Isaac in the name, it's probably only going to be accessible in Isaac. And then if there's some extension that you're not sure, some Python package that you're not sure where it's coming from or if it's going to be available, the import is gonna give you a clue as to which extension it came from, and then you can check to see which apps have that extension. So let me see what you guys are saying here. So if you're deleting stuff, maybe, so I'm gonna just guess here as to what you're saying. If you're writing some code and in the form of an extension, what can happen is if you leave that code, if it's a custom extension and you leave that code in a broken state, when you relaunch the app, And if your extension is set to auto load, it will not let the app start up. It will fail before the app even gets a chance to start. Is that maybe what you're talking about? Otherwise, deleting stuff and turning on doesn't seem like a workflow that we want. There's something wrong going on there. How do we code extensions for Isaac without being able to use code? That's a good question. I don't know what the recommended workflow is there. I think people just work out of Isaac, which you can. You have everything you need there. It's not going to be as streamlined as the Omniverse Code, but you have this plus button to create a new extension, so that's available. You have the debugger here. You have the commands utils for searching commands. So you could load all of these, set them to auto load, and then save a layout if you wanted to have your development environment within Isaac. So I think that's what most people are doing these days. In regards to extensions working in some apps and not, or available in some apps or not, this may change in the future. This is just kind of how we're deploying these apps right now, but there's no reason why these extensions couldn't just be in the registry and then you could access them as here. This is a registry of Kit 104 extensions, and you could have multiple registries, and potentially you could then add these extensions to any app. As long as it finds it in the registry, it would show up in here, and then you could enable it or install it. Install. Where is it? So yeah, like this one, for example. This one is coming from the registry. It hasn't been installed yet. So we may go in that direction. I don't know what's the goal there. But the tech would support it. Does that help? Does that answer your question, research report? We are out of time, but if there's any follow-up question to these last ones, I'm happy to finish these up. Otherwise, we can talk more on Discord. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. I will follow up on Discord about the Isaac Sim questions. Hopefully we can get somebody that can answer those. Research report, if you want to jump on Discord as well, we can try to get those questions answered and clarified. There's the Discord link. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Next week, we're continuing with the simulating humans. We're going to be looking at animation retargeting, and that's it. All right, thanks for coming. See ya.